There's a system in your body that most people think about only when something goes wrong: digestion, absorption, elimination. These processes happen constantly, mostly without conscious awareness. But the digestive system does more than process food. The gut contains trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, viruses that live in a complex ecosystem. This community is called the microbiome, and it affects things beyond digestion: immune function, mood regulation, inflammation, metabolism. Research shows connections between gut health and systems throughout the body. This isn't about probiotics or dietary trends. It's not about miracle cures or optimization protocols. It's about what the gut actually does, how the microbiome functions, and why the system matters to overall health. Most people know the gut digests food. Fewer understand that it's also where most of the immune system operates, or that it produces neurotransmitters that affect brain function, or that the bacterial composition can influence conditions far from the digestive tract. The gut is more complex than most people realize. And that complexity is what this is about. This was hidden. Let's uncover it. If you're interested in understanding how your body actually works, consider subscribing. More biological systems get uncovered here regularly. No health trends, no miracle claims, just clarity on what's real. Gut health affects daily life in ways most people don't connect: energy levels, mood, sleep quality, how often you get sick. These things seem unrelated to digestion, but the gut influences all of them. The microbiome, the collection of microorganisms in your digestive tract, contains more bacterial cells than your body has human cells. These organisms aren't parasites. They're part of the system. They break down food components humans can't digest. They produce vitamins. They train the immune system. When the microbiome is disrupted, effects appear throughout the body. This disruption is called dysbiosis. It doesn't cause one specific disease. It shifts the baseline function of multiple systems. The result can be inflammation, weakened immunity, digestive problems, or metabolic changes. What makes this matter is that gut health is influenced by controllable factors: diet, sleep, stress, medication use, physical activity. These aren't just lifestyle choices. They're inputs that shape the microbial ecosystem. But the conversation about gut health is often confused. Probiotic supplements are marketed as cure-alls. Elimination diets promise to fix everything. Detoxes claim to cleanse the system. The actual science is more nuanced. The gut microbiome is highly individual. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. There's no single optimal composition. Research shows patterns and correlations, but individual variation is significant. This matters because people make health decisions based on incomplete information. They eliminate entire food groups based on trends. They take supplements without understanding what they do. They interpret normal digestive variation as pathology. Understanding what the gut actually does and what affects it changes how you interpret symptoms and evaluate interventions. It doesn't provide simple answers, but it provides context. The gut isn't mysterious, it's just complex. And complexity requires more careful observation than most popular health advice provides. That gap between complexity and simplification is what creates confusion. This isn't about fixing your gut. It's about understanding what it does and why that matters. The digestive system is a tube running from mouth to anus. Along the way, food is broken down mechanically and chemically. Nutrients are absorbed. Waste is eliminated. This is the basic process everyone learns. But the gut is also an ecosystem. The large intestine alone contains trillions of microorganisms representing thousands of species. They live in communities. They compete for resources. They cooperate in breaking down complex molecules. They produce metabolites that enter the bloodstream. This ecosystem develops from birth. Babies acquire microbes during delivery and through feeding. The composition changes based on diet, environment, and health events. By adulthood, each person has a unique microbial signature. The microbiome performs functions the human body can't do alone. It breaks down dietary fiber into short-chain fatty acids. These molecules provide energy to intestinal cells, reduce inflammation, and affect metabolism. Without gut bacteria, humans couldn't extract nutrition from many plant foods. The gut also houses about 70% of the immune system. The intestinal lining is the body's largest interface with the external environment. Everything consumed passes through. The immune system must distinguish between food, beneficial microbes, and potential threats. The gut-brain connection is bidirectional. The vagus nerve links the brain and digestive system. Signals travel both directions. The gut produces neurotransmitters including serotonin and dopamine. Most of the body's serotonin is made in the gut, though it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier directly. Still, gut serotonin affects digestive motility and influences the vagus nerve. The gut lining is a barrier. It allows nutrients through while blocking larger molecules and microbes from entering the bloodstream. When this barrier is compromised through inflammation, infection, or other factors, intestinal permeability increases. Larger molecules can pass through, triggering immune responses. This is sometimes called leaky gut, though the medical term is increased intestinal permeability. Disruptions to gut health can come from multiple sources. Antibiotics kill bacteria indiscriminately, reducing microbial diversity. Chronic stress affects gut motility and barrier function. Highly processed diets low in fiber reduce beneficial bacteria. Lack of sleep disrupts circadian rhythms that affect digestion, but the gut also shows resilience. The microbiome can recover from disruption if conditions support healthy bacteria. Dietary changes can shift composition within days or weeks. The system is dynamic, not fixed. What this means is that gut health isn't a static state you achieve and maintain. It's an ongoing process influenced by daily inputs. Understanding these inputs doesn't require complex interventions. It requires recognizing what affects the system. The gut is central to health not because it's the most important organ, but because it interfaces with so many other systems. The gut microbiome isn't uniform throughout the digestive tract. Different regions have different conditions and different microbial populations. The stomach is highly acidic, few bacteria survive there. The small intestine has moderate bacterial populations, increasing toward the large intestine. The colon contains the densest microbial community, trillions of organisms per gram of content. The major bacterial groups include firmicutes and bacteroidetes. These two phyla dominate in most people, but their ratio varies. Some research suggests this ratio relates to metabolism and weight, though the relationship is complex. Diversity matters more than specific species. A diverse microbiome is generally more resilient. It can maintain function even when some species are disrupted. Low diversity is associated with various health conditions, though whether it's a cause or effect isn't always clear. Individual microbiomes are as unique as fingerprints. Even identical twins have different compositions. Diet explains some variation, geography plays a role. Early life exposures matter. But individual variation remains high even when these factors are controlled. The microbiome isn't stable. It changes with diet shifts, illness, medication, and aging. Some changes are temporary. Others persist. What matters isn't maintaining a fixed composition but supporting conditions for beneficial organisms. Beneficial bacteria produce compounds the body uses. They outcompete potentially harmful species. They maintain the gut barrier. They modulate immune responses. Supporting these functions matters more than achieving a specific bacterial composition. This is why generic probiotic supplements have mixed results. They don't account for individual variation. They don't necessarily contain species that colonize effectively. The gut is more complex than supplementation alone can address. The gut and brain communicate constantly through multiple pathways. This relationship is called the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve provides a direct physical connection. It carries signals both directions, from brain to gut affecting motility and secretion, and from gut to brain affecting mood and behavior. The gut produces neurotransmitters. Enterochromaffin cells in the intestinal lining synthesize serotonin. While this serotonin doesn't directly enter the brain, it affects the vagus nerve and influences central nervous system function indirectly. Gut bacteria also produce neurotransmitter precursors and metabolites that affect brain chemistry. They produce gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA, which influences anxiety and mood. They produce short-chain fatty acids that cross the blood-brain barrier and affect neural function. Research shows correlations between gut microbiome composition and mental health conditions. People with depression often have different microbial profiles than those without. Anxiety disorders show similar patterns. But correlation doesn't prove causation. The relationship is likely bidirectional. Mental state affects the gut, and gut state affects mental function. Animal studies show that microbiome manipulation can change behavior. Germ-free mice behave differently than mice with normal microbiomes. Transferring microbiomes between animals can transfer behavioral traits. But animal models don't translate directly to humans. In humans, the evidence is more complex. Some studies show probiotics affecting mood or anxiety symptoms. Others show no effect. The interventions that work are often specific to particular strains and conditions. There's no universal gut-brain fix. What's clear is that the connection exists. What's unclear is how to manipulate it reliably. The gut-brain axis is real, but the practical applications are still being researched. Diet is the most significant controllable factor affecting the gut microbiome. What you eat determines which bacteria thrive and which don't. Dietary fiber is particularly important. Humans can't digest fiber, but gut bacteria can. They ferment it into short-chain fatty acids, butyrate, propionate, acetate. These molecules feed intestinal cells, reduce inflammation, and influence metabolism. Different fibers feed different bacteria. Soluble fiber from oats and legumes supports different species than insoluble fiber from whole grains. Diversity in fiber sources supports diversity in the microbiome. This is why varied plant intake matters more than any single superfood. Highly processed diets low in fiber reduce beneficial bacteria. Without adequate substrate to ferment, fiber-loving species decline. Other species, including some associated with inflammation, may increase. This shift happens relatively quickly. Studies show measurable changes within days. Fermented foods introduce live bacteria. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, these contain microorganisms that may temporarily colonize the gut. Whether they establish permanent populations is unclear. But even transient bacteria can influence the existing community. Artificial sweeteners may affect the microbiome negatively. Some research suggests they alter bacterial composition in ways that affect glucose metabolism. But the evidence is mixed and the mechanisms unclear. Polyphenols from fruits, vegetables, tea, and coffee also influence gut bacteria. These compounds are metabolized by microbes into beneficial metabolites. Regular intake supports species that perform this conversion. What matters isn't perfection. It's pattern. Occasional variations don't disrupt a generally diverse, fiber-rich diet. The microbiome responds to what you eat most often, not what you eat occasionally. Consistency matters more than strict adherence to rules. Several factors can disrupt the gut microbiome and digestive function. Some are avoidable. Others aren't. Antibiotics are the most significant disruptor. They kill bacteria indiscriminately, beneficial and harmful. A single course of broad-spectrum antibiotics can reduce microbial diversity for months or years. This doesn't mean avoiding necessary antibiotics. It means recognizing their impact and considering restoration strategies. Chronic stress affects the gut through multiple mechanisms. Stress hormones alter gut motility, reduce blood flow to the intestine, and change mucus production. The microbiome composition shifts under chronic stress. Gut barrier function weakens. This creates a feedback loop. Stress affects the gut. Gut dysfunction affects stress response. Lack of sleep disrupts circadian rhythms that regulate digestive processes. The microbiome has its own circadian patterns. Sleep deprivation disrupts these patterns. Studies show that even short-term sleep restriction changes microbial composition. Nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, like ibuprofen, can damage the intestinal lining with regular use. They increase intestinal permeability and can cause inflammation. Occasional use is generally safe, but chronic use affects gut health. Excessive alcohol consumption damages the gut barrier and alters the microbiome. Moderate consumption shows less clear effects. Some research suggests small amounts may have neutral or slightly beneficial effects on gut bacteria, but evidence is limited. Environmental factors matter too. Pollution exposure affects the gut. Pesticides on food may impact the microbiome. Chlorinated water kills bacteria. These factors are harder to control but worth considering. Understanding disruptors doesn't mean eliminating all of them. It means recognizing their effects and balancing necessary interventions with gut support. Given how complex the gut is, what actually improves gut health? Dietary fiber is the most evidence-supported intervention. Aim for variety. Different plant foods provide different fibers. This supports microbial diversity better than any single fiber supplement. Whole grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds all contribute. Fermented foods may help, though evidence is still developing. Including them regularly provides exposure to diverse microbes. Even if they don't colonize permanently, they they may beneficially influence the existing community. Adequate sleep supports gut health. 7 to 9 hours for most adults. Consistent sleep timing matters as much as duration. The gut follows circadian rhythms that benefit from regularity. Stress management affects the gut-brain axis. This doesn't require elaborate protocols. Regular physical activity, adequate rest, and practices that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, like deep breathing, all help. Limiting unnecessary antibiotic use protects microbial diversity. When antibiotics are necessary, consider probiotic supplementation during and after treatment. Evidence suggests this may help restore diversity faster, though results vary. Avoiding ultra-processed foods reduces additives that may negatively affect the microbiome. Emulsifiers, artificial sweeteners, and certain preservatives show potential negative effects in research. Staying hydrated supports digestive function. Water helps move material through the intestines and maintains mucus production that protects the gut lining. What doesn't reliably help? Expensive probiotic supplements without specific indication. Extreme elimination diets without medical reason, detoxes or cleanses, single superfoods. Gut health improves through consistent, sustainable practices, not through dramatic interventions. The system responds to what you do regularly, not what you do occasionally. The most common misunderstanding is that gut health can be fixed with supplements alone. The microbiome responds primarily to diet and lifestyle. Supplements may help in specific situations, but they don't replace foundational inputs. Another misunderstanding is that all probiotics are the same. Different strains have different effects. A probiotic that helps with one condition may not help another. Generic gut health probiotics may not colonize effectively. People often think they need to eliminate foods to heal their gut. Unless you have diagnosed allergies, intolerances, or specific medical conditions, elimination diets often do more harm than good. They reduce dietary diversity, which reduces microbial diversity. The gut needs variety. There's confusion about leaky gut. Increased intestinal permeability is real and can occur in certain conditions. But it's not a general diagnosis that explains all symptoms. Many marketed leaky gut treatments aren't supported by evidence. Another misconception is that everyone needs the same microbial composition. The gut microbiome is highly individual. There's no single optimal profile. Health is associated with diversity and function, not specific bacterial species. People misunderstand fermented foods. They're beneficial, but they're not required. You don't need to eat kimchi daily to have a healthy gut. They're one tool among many. There's also confusion about detoxes and cleanses. The gut doesn't need cleansing. The liver and kidneys handle detoxification. Colon cleanses can actually disrupt the microbiome. Finally, people think gut problems always cause obvious digestive symptoms. But microbiome imbalances can manifest as skin issues, mood changes, or immune dysfunction without noticeable digestive problems. Conversely, digestive symptoms don't always indicate microbiome problems. These misunderstandings persist because gut health marketing is lucrative. Products promising quick fixes sell better than explanations of complex, gradual improvements through dietary and lifestyle changes. So if the gut is this complex, what does that mean for health decisions? It means simple interventions are rarely sufficient. The gut doesn't respond to single inputs, it responds to patterns. What you eat regularly, how you manage stress, how well you sleep, how often you use antibiotics, all of these interact. This complexity isn't a problem to solve, it's a system to support. The goal isn't achieving perfect gut health, that concept doesn't exist. The goal is creating conditions where the microbiome can maintain diverse, functional populations. This shifts the question from what should I take to what patterns support this system. The answer is less marketable but more accurate. Eat varied plants regularly. Manage stress reasonably. Sleep consistently. Avoid unnecessary disruption. The gut isn't separate from the rest of health. It's interconnected with immune function, metabolic regulation, mental health, and inflammation. Supporting it isn't about gut-specific interventions. It's about overall patterns that affect multiple systems simultaneously. This is why dramatic interventions often fail. They target one component of a complex system. They ignore individual variation. They promise results the science doesn't support. Meanwhile, sustained patterns of basic health behaviors, diverse diet, adequate sleep, stress management affect the gut as part of affecting the whole system. The reframe is from optimization to support. You don't optimize your gut microbiome like you optimize software. You support conditions where it can function. Those conditions are the same ones that support health generally. This doesn't mean gut health is unimportant. It means it's not separate from health overall. The gut is central because it interfaces with so many systems. Supporting it is supporting them all. Understanding this removes pressure to find the perfect protocol. There isn't one. There are patterns that work with the system's complexity rather than trying to simplify it. The gut isn't mysterious. It's a biological system that responds to inputs in ways research is increasingly documenting. It's complex, but complexity isn't the same as mystery. What affects the gut affects health broadly. Not because the gut controls everything, but because it's interconnected with immune function, metabolism, inflammation, and neural signaling. Change happens through these connections. Supporting gut health doesn't require elaborate protocols or expensive supplements. It requires recognizing what the system needs: diverse fiber, adequate sleep, stress management, avoiding unnecessary disruption. These aren't gut-specific interventions. They're basic health inputs that happen to affect the gut along with everything else. The microbiome is as individual as the person it inhabits. What works varies. What matters is understanding the principles and applying them to individual circumstances. The gut does more than digest food. But supporting it is simpler than most marketing suggests. Just less profitable to explain. This was hidden. Now it's uncovered.